This is Dr. Carroll, and this video is about split, the Python string method split. So to start, there's two different forms of split. First, there's the split with no arguments, or if you pass it. It cuts at every instance of string. In string, it cuts every instance of one or more white space. Well, what's a white space? These are spaces, tabs, new line, line feeds, and there's a couple other miscellaneous ones. And so it's going to look for one or more white spaces, and then it's going to cut at those locations. And it puts these cuts into a list. A list is a Python type. Check out my other video about lists. And it will return that new list that it created. So it takes the string, chops it up where it finds white spaces, puts each of those elements in its own position in the list, and returns that list. Let's see some examples. So if we had this string, I love Python, and we stored it in exclamation, and then let's run this in idle actually. So if we have this exclamation, and then if we have the exclamation dot split, and we don't give it any arguments, you can see here it takes either a separator or a max split. And what it's going to do is it's going to return a list of strings split up. And so we know it's a list because it has the square brackets and the commas indicate the different elements. And so what it did is it cut it here in between the I and the love, and it also cut it after love and Python, and put them in different elements into a list. And so we could have had it be exclamation equals I love, let's add some spaces and some tabs and some more spaces. Python, I'm just going to use basically the same text. And then if we have acclamation again dot split, notice what is it going to do? It does one or more white spaces. And so it returned the exact same thing because it found, oh, I see a space, space, tab, space, space, and it said, okay, I'm going to cut at that location and then put it into the list and do that. So here we have what I just showed. And so it will return that. And so if you wanted to see it, you wanted to print it, that's what it would display, just what it would return. Here's with the extra spaces and tabs, the exact same thing. Now, that's a really short string. So what if you did a much longer string? For example, Robert Frost's poem, The Road Not Taken. And if you had all of that text and you said split, it's going to look for one or more white space, and it's going to split them. And so it's going to return a list with all these different words. And you might be looking for an individual word, or you might be wanting to sort it or do something along those lines with it, whatever it is. But I wanted to show you that with much larger strings, it also works. Now that was the first form of split. There's another form of split where we give it a substring. We pass it a substring, or as we saw in idle there, the sep argument. And it also cuts string at every instance, though, of substring, but not. But it just does it each separate one. It doesn't do them contiguously like the white spaces. And then it's also going to put the different cuts into a list and return that list. Let's see some examples to make sure it's clear. Again, if we had the exclamation, I love Python, and we split on an O, it's going to get the I space L in one element. It's going to cut out the O and not include it. It's going to put VE space capital PYTH in the second element, cut out that O, and exclamation mark in the third one. And then here we're displaying it because it's returning it and then passing it to print. And sure enough, IL, one element, and then the rest of love and Python, and then, or the beginning of Python, and splitting it up. And so that's showing it there. Now, what if we changed it up and we said, okay, we can pass it more than one character to make it a longer string. So if we said split on love, it's going to find love here and split it. And so that's going to display I. Notice this space. It's going to cut out love, and then in the second element it does space Python and includes that in this second element. So we can give it more than one character. And so what's going to happen if we have I love Python and we split on O? This illustrates that it doesn't look for one or more, and what it's going to do is it's going to find again the I space L, and that's the first one, and then it finds that second O and cuts it there, but it puts an empty string into that element and removes the O, and it does that a couple more times, and then it continues just as it had before. And so this is to show that it doesn't look for contiguous ones when you give it an argument. Instead, it looks for it finds each and every one. And so maybe you have some data from a comma separated value file. So you have values separated by commas and you want to split it. For example, here's some random numbers I came up with. And notice visually you can see that they're separated by commas, and this might be a line from a data file. And so if we split it here, it's going to take those numbers, or it's going to take those characters, which look like numbers, and it's going to put them into each element into the list. I hope you enjoyed that. Check out my other video on the related string method, join.